Hey friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today we are back with volume 2 of my summer favorites. I am so excited about this swatch wheel. The colors just give me life. And this might look a little bit similar to last year's version, but I will be sharing a side-by-side comparison at the end. So for now, let me just show you my favorites. The first shade we have is Lisa from Ave Polish. You might not be surprised about this one, especially if you watched my last video where I mentioned it being one of my favorite shades from the brand. This actually came out in last year's summer collection, but it's this incredibly vibrant pink crelly base with a silvery blue shimmer. The formula on this one is actually really nice and it's really even coverage for me, even on one coat. I know it might look a little patchy or streaky here, but that's because these swatch wheel nails are super long. But yeah, I love how bright and punchy this is. Next, I chose Holo Taco's Private Villa from their recent vacation collection. This one probably isn't a surprise either, but just in case you're new here, I absolutely love hot pink jelly type of polishes in the summertime, and this one is just so beautiful. It has these really tiny gold micro flakes and shimmer, and there's also a beautiful hot pink reflective glitter in here, which I also really love. But yeah, I think this one is just so fun all around. I really love that Holo Taco experimented with some of these more unique finishes with this collection. I would love to see more of this formula moving forward, or just more jelly adjacent polishes, but if this is the only one that we get, I will be completely satisfied. I think it is just so pretty. So here it is with flash, so you can see the hot pink reflective glitters pop. I know some people really hate reflective glitters, but I don't think this one stands out too much because of that hot pink base. The next shade I chose is another Ave polish, and this one is called Crake. If you can't tell from the slightly different bottle, this one is actually an oldie. It's from her very first summer collection 3 years ago. It's so crazy that she's going to be releasing her 4th collection soon, but this just goes to show that even after several years, some shades are just classics. Crake is described as a bold coral red cream, and I'd say that's actually pretty accurate. And that's why I really love this shade. Sometimes corals can be a little weird for me, like they're either too orange or pink or sometimes just unflattering. But I think because this one leans more red and warm in general, it's just so flattering, and I think it's so perfect for summer. Next up, we have Mooncat's Hermit Crab from their very recent Mermaid Tales collection. This is more of a lighter orangey coral shade with a squishy jelly base that's filled with gold shimmer and flakes. I just love how bright and beachy this one feels to me. I don't know if it's the gold shimmer, but I just ended up loving this one way more than I thought that I would. Like I probably mentioned before, I am a huge fan of jellies in the summertime, and that definitely includes jelly flaky finishes like this one. And there's just something about this base color that I think is so beautiful. It just has that really warm glow of a sunset or golden hour. I just can't put my finger on it exactly, but it just really gives me peak summer vibes. Up next, we have Cirque's Bird of Paradise from their Surfer's Crush collection a few months ago. This whole collection was beautiful, so we'll see a few more of them soon, but again, there is just something about this really strong gold shimmer against a corally orange base that just screams summer to me. I shared a somewhat similar color last year that was more of a pink base with a strong gold shimmer, but I said that it gives me resort kind of vibes, and honestly, this color is doing that for me too. It's just so beautiful. It reminds me of like I'm going on a vacation, I'm getting unlimited drinks by the pool. It just looks like one of those colors that would complement your skin so nicely and really pop. Like, this is almost a neon, and so these types of shades make me look a little bit tanner than I actually am, and I don't get tan in the summer, so I just love this one. Speaking of neons though, I've got quite a few that I'm loving this season, and we're starting with Sweeta Than Suga from China Glaze's Hello Sugar collection earlier this year. I generally really loved how bright and fun that whole collection was because they were like these bleached pastel neons with really great formulas, as you can see here. But this one in particular really stood out to me because I feel like it could transition so well into the perfect summer coral. This has such a beautiful formula that I just was so blown away by it. I feel like this is such a perfect summer pedicure color for me. I usually keep it very basic on my toes and just go with like a bright cream polish, and I feel like this one is gonna be the color for me this year. Next up, we have this bright neon highlighter pink called Shopaholic from Cirque's Vice collection this year. I knew it was going to be so hard to narrow down which Vice shades I would be including in this video, but there was not a doubt in my mind about Shopaholic. It's just so perfect to me. I really think this is my ideal light neon pink shade. I don't know if that's crazy to say. Like, I'm a certified pink lover, so I'm gonna love every shade of pink that's gonna come out. But there is something about this one that just, I feel like it was like made for me, you know? I know that a few people were bummed that Valley of the Dolls didn't make a comeback, but I urge you to try this shade because it is just so pretty. It's just a little bit lighter and brighter, I would say. Next, we have Cirque's Hedonist, which is a re-released Vice shade. So as you might know, I love a good yellow in the summer, and what's better than a neon primary yellow? This one just makes me so happy. It is like the most intense, true yellow that I've seen, or at least that I have in my collection. And I have a lot of bright primary yellow shades, but having a neon one just elevates it so much. I think this shade would be so eye-catching as a full manicure, but I especially love using it in nail art. It just makes such a little pop of color, whether it's to dot some flower centers or paint some smiley faces. You just need a bright yellow in your life. And the last Cirque Vice shade that I chose is Cream, which is another re-released color. So apologies, I was on autopilot and accidentally didn't record the first coat, but I did swatch these all recently, so you're not missing out too much, right? I just love super bright lime greens in the summer, and while this one does lean very white, it still hits the spot for me, so I'm really excited to use this one. The next shade I have is Kiwi Juice from Color Department. It's almost a bit unfortunate that I'm showing this after the neons because it almost looks dull in comparison, but I swear it's such a bright and juicy kiwi green on its own. So I think this would be a great alternative if you're one of the few people who isn't into the eye-searing neon shades that are so popular this time of year. I still think this is worth checking out because it's just so bright and fun, and it has a slightly crelly kind of finish, so there's a little bit of squishy and juiciness to it that I think works so well for the summertime. Up next, we have our one and only returning shade from last year, Orly's Vintage. So I'll mention this in my outro a little bit, but a lot of my favorites this year are just expanding on my favorites from last year, but I just haven't come across another vivid aqua shade like this one, so I just had to include it again. I still absolutely love it though, and I think it fits so perfectly with these others. It's just one of those timeless summer shades for me. But that being said, I still would love to know if you have any recommendations that are very similar to this shade, where it's just so bright and like almost wants to be a neon. It is just everything to me and I need more. Next we have Mooncat's Lava Lamp, which is from last year's Rainbow Jelly Flaky collection called Kaleidoscope Haze. This is the jade seafoam colored jelly and it's filled with gold and iridescent flakies, so it just really reminds me of sea glass and it feels so beachy and magical. I generally loved that entire collection and I'm really excited to wear them again, but if I remember correctly, this is one of the few shades that looked really good in 1, 2, or 3 coats, which I really love so much because it just makes it so much more versatile. I'm sure this would look amazing matte too for a more true sea glass look, but I'm always going to be a fan of a glossy finish because it just makes the flakies shine and glisten so much more. We have another recent Mooncat next. This one is Catfished from their Mermaid Tales collection. I knew that this was going to be beautiful, but it just took my breath away when I actually wore it. This is one of their newer ultra fine flaky formulas, which basically means it's super densely packed with these teeny tiny little flakies. And I personally love how this looks layered up in 3 coats when it's fully opaque, but I think this looks so pretty just on 1 coat too because it's so delicate. You can definitely just layer this over a cream and use it as a topper or over a sheer, but yeah, once it's built up to be a little bit more opaque, I feel like it just creates this really brilliant, almost mirror-like shine, and the gorgeous shiftiness going on really reminds me of mermaid scales. So it truly is such a mesmerizing polish and you definitely need it if you're looking for the perfect mermaid vibes this summer. Up next we have Holo Taco's Never Tied Down from their recent vacation collection. So in case you didn't watch that review, I was just so blown away by this one. It's definitely the most unique shade Holo Taco has come out with and arguably one of the most beautiful too. It features a dazzling turquoise jelly base that's so densely packed with crushed holo, gold and iridescent flakies, and a beautiful gold shimmer too. I just adore how this perfectly captures the sun sparkling over the waves. It's just so breathtaking. I'm pretty sure this is one of the biggest crowd favorites from this collection. I've seen so many people give this shade some love, and I definitely would love to see more colors in this finish too. Next up we have Cirque's Wipeout, which is also from their Surfer's Crush collection. This one is a glistening ocean blue jelly base with a strong contrasting aqua shimmer that shifts to purple in extreme angles. I feel like it should go without saying why this one is in here. I mean, it is like such a beautiful beachy kind of polish. I know it's a lot more dusty looking compared to the bright intense aquas on the left hand side there, but once you build this up a little bit in 2 or 3 coats, you really get more of that vibrant blue base, and it is just so beautiful. I think this one is so pretty. I really love the base color alone too. Like, I generally love those types of blues, especially as cream polishes, but I just can't not choose a shimmer. It just is so eye-catching and glistening in the sunlight, so it's just so perfect for summer. The next shade I chose is Pahlish's Send Nudis, or Nudis, which I got from Polish Pickup last summer, so unfortunately that means you can't get this one anymore. but it's a soothing, almost cornflower powdery blue crelly base with a striking duochrome shimmer that shifts from red head-on to gold in extreme angles. The shimmer in this one evokes that same sun setting over water kind of vibe, similar to Never Tied Down, but obviously a lot more subdued. I love a good red shimmer in a polish, and so as much as I do love this, part of me kind of wishes the duochrome effect was reversed, where you would see the gold head on and then the red in the extreme angles, just because it would fit my little sun setting over the water vision a little bit better. But either way, this is still such a lovely shade. I feel like it's such a nice, softer alternative that's still blue and still beachy, but not super bright. The last cream that I have as part of my favorites this year is China Glaze's Cuba Diving from their Havana Nights collection a couple summers ago. I adore clear, vivid sky blue shades like this in the summer, and this one just really hits the spot for me even after a few years. I did also just love that whole collection in general, but this blue just really stands out to me. I just think it's so striking on its own. I can't wait to wear it as a full manicure, but I think it's also going to be so cute in some nail art. Next, I have Cirque's Ohana, which is the last shade that I'm featuring from the Surfer's Crush collection. Obviously, I really loved that release. I'm pretty sure I've said it before that this delicate shimmer formula from Cirque is just one of my favorites, and so I was so happy to see them release more since I feel like it's just been a while. I love the soft but bright purple base that this one has. I feel like it almost has a pearlescent glow compared to some of the others that are more of a true shimmer. So for whatever reason, I just really like it in this one, and it just gives me mermaid vibes. It's just so, so pretty. Now, this one might be interesting or confusing, but I had to include Mooncat's Flight of the Monarchs. I shared it recently as one of my favorite orange polishes because, I mean, the shimmer in this one is just so apparent. It just glows all over. And so I said I would classify it as an orange. But it has this really beautiful purple jelly base that provides the perfect contrast for the warm, glowing shimmer. And someone had commented in my original review of this polish saying this shade reminded them of a sunset, and it just opened my third eye. I already loved this shade, but reading that comment just made me appreciate the beauty of this one so much more. And rounding out my favorites this year is Mooncat's Merkitten, also from their recent Mermaid Tales collection. I really don't think this one is that much of a surprise to anybody. I'm just such a fan of hot pinks with shimmer and holo in them. I honestly have loved every pink that Mooncat comes out with so much. They don't really release them super often, but when they do, they just really nail it, and this one is no exception. Maybe it's not super surprising either because last year I shared Cirque's Say Chic as one of my summer favorites, and this one is definitely really similar to that, but I would say this has much more of a crelly base, while Say Chic is more of a true jelly. But like I said, as a certified pink lover, I just cannot choose between them. So this one is my favorite this year. It is just so beautiful. And here's a look at my completed swatch wheel of my summer favorites this year. I absolutely love this lineup. I feel like I have a lot more corally oranges, a lot more neon shades, but I still have gravitated to a lot of the same kind of aqua teals as last year. I'm just such a fan of them, especially when they have a beautiful shimmer. These are just so pretty to me. So here's a look at the full swatch wheel in frame. I just love how bright and vibrant this is. But of course, I have to show last year's swatch wheel in comparison. Obviously, we have a lot of similarities, and it's also bugging me, just as a side note, that I swatched this year's in like the wrong direction. I don't know if you could tell, but it's like reverse order. So I wish I had done it in the correct order just so it can be a little bit more of an obvious comparison. But either way, I mean, you can see the colors. They are pretty much very similar across the board. It's so funny to see that I'm still into like the lime greens, the sky blues, the shimmery aqua turquoise kind of shades. Not much has really changed, but it's just so fun to see this like second edition. So let me know which year you like more. So that wraps up volume 2 of my summer favorites. So I'm so excited to hear what you all think of my picks for this year. I really love them so much. I know that a lot of these are also very new shades, like the ones that I shared last year, a lot of them were already in my collection with like a handful of new shades. And I still really love all of those too. Like I would still consider them favorites. I just didn't want to repeat a lot of them in this year's version. So I think I'm gonna be approaching this upcoming year of seasonal favorites, or the volume 2 of it, as like an extension of my favorites from last year. So obviously, I am drawn to the same kind of color palette, but I think a lot of these shades are kind of like a 2.0 version, or almost like an alternative to shades that I shared last year. And I am not mad about that. I don't know if that's like kind of annoying if you were hoping to see more variety, but I just like what I like, and this is what my wheel looks like this year. So you'll have to let me know what some of your summer favorites are, if you find yourself going back to the same kind of shades as a seasonal wearer, or if you really lean into different ones here and there. Let me know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.